Okay, so let's talk about the inburgering exam voor lezen. That's the reading immigration exam, which I will be taking in an hour or two later today. This is one of two exams where you are allowed to have a freaking dictionary, which I am so glad that I read the fine print and noticed that it's possible to bring this, because I don't remember seeing it anywhere when I was practicing or scheduling the exam. I noticed it in the email that they sent, like, you're gonna be taking the exam 10 days from now. They send you one like, you know, almost 2 weeks before, a week and a half before the exam comes, because of course if you have taken or scheduled any exams, you know that you have to schedule the exam and pay for the exam sometimes months before you actually take it. So I scheduled this reading exam, I don't even remember when. Could have been in January, February, and it's now March. Could have been, I don't remember. It really could have been last year. And I have done one other exam before. That was the listening exam. I've done that first, thought this is going to be easiest. Knocked that out of the way. I have another video on that. And now comes the reading, which is still a challenge. I have done every practice test there is for this one. I'm looking at my packets right now. Here's the practice tests are tests from previous years, which is, I think, quite nice, quite handy. You don't get like some bullshit practice test. You literally just get tests from previous years. And what I noticed with the practice tests for the reading exam specifically is most of the examples are coming from, look, in deze tekst uit een studieboek. So they're like information you would find in a school, college, about a specific program. The next one, for example, is, it's an article about a marathon, and is that actually healthy? There's some debate over, you know, just because you're putting a lot of strain on your body, is a marathon actually healthy for you? And so that's what the next one's about. Let's go on. Deze tekst komt van internet en gaat over het werk van een waterleidingsmonteur. So this is basically like someone who works at the city, or who works as a lawyer, or who works as this or that, talks about their job and what they like about it. And this is actually about a water sewage management guy who works for the city. So, and deze tekst komt van een website van de MBO. That's another college, school, community college thing. And it's about how you can become a sport and movement coordinator. And so besides the one about the marathon, these all were kind of informational texts that you could find on a website about a school or a job. And I think that's like really the point here with the exams, is that it's all preparing you for life in the Netherlands, like whether you're gonna study or work. It's all really, it's not stuff where you're reading a creative text or a fictional text. It's very practical, like informational reading for the most part. So you've got this text, and first you read the text, and then you have like 5 to 7 questions. Without fail, one of the questions to every single group of questions that was about this certain text, in every single one of those groups was one question where it was either like, who is this text meant for, and what is the purpose of this text? But that's another thing I'm absolutely expecting in every group of questions today, is who is this text meant for, and or what is the purpose of this text? Is it to tell readers the risks of a marathon? Is it to inform readers about the health and risks of a marathon? Is it to convince readers not to run a marathon? You know, and some of these questions on the practice tests are tricky. It takes real critical thinking, and in some of them, I just barely got it wrong. It's all multiple choice, and they'll ask you, what did Dr. So-and-so think about running marathons? And it will be really closely between two. It'll be like, he believes that each patient should be treated differently, or he believes it depends on the person. I mean, two of them will be really similar or really hard to choose between. One of them is a trick, dude. I remember getting specific ones wrong on the practice tests and going back and going, oh, it's because I answered that one quickly. This test is long, dude, and if you watch my last video, you know I don't sit still well for hours at a time without getting up, having a coffee, having something, you know, to fiddle with, standing up, maybe like if I can go like this while I'm answering the questions and stretch a little bit and like just be free to move and or sing or talk or just like, what is that question? Oh, I forgot. Like, which in a testing center I feel, well, I don't feel free to do. There's other people in there taking the test. I don't know how many are going to be there today, but last time I took the listening test, it was like 30 people in the room all taking a test, and there's 2 moderators, and so I definitely didn't feel like, oh, this is a fine moment for me to get up and stretch and be my wacky self so that I can get this test done. But we'll see how it goes today. I think this dictionary is going to be a game changer. And the thing is about this dictionary, they tell you there's only one type. They only allow this specific brand, Fandala, which is, I think, like educational, well-respected dictionary brand. And you can only have the type where it's Dutch as a second language, Nederlands als tweede taal. Dude, these dictionaries were like 25 euros online. Maybe that's not a lot for some people. It's a lot for me for one book that I'm going to use 2 times and probably never again. But heck, they will probably have these at a library. I actually borrowed this from a friend of mine who went through the inburgering process a couple years ago. She didn't have hers. I don't think she took one, but it just so happened that her son, who is in Dutch schooling but has English as a first language, their international family, uses this when he takes tests for his school. And so this comes out of his library at school. And then I thought, oh my God, that's a great hack. I was over here looking for secondhand copies. I'm like, if people have done the integration, certainly they've bought the dictionary only for the integration exams, spent the $30, used it twice and want to get some of their money back, so they're probably going to be, you know, online for cheaper. But the thing is that you can't have a single pen mark on the inside of the pages. You can't have written in it at all, so that was a concern of mine. I did find one on Marketplace that was 10, but it had a pen mark or someone's name in it, so I thought, well, I better not, because I don't want to get there and have them take it away from me. Because if you look, when I was doing practice tests, I went through and highlighted every word I didn't know. I didn't realize when doing the practice tests that I could have a dictionary there. So when I found that in the email, it was a game changer. I was like, oh, I'm definitely bringing that. And I asked another person I knew who just got done with the immigration process to borrow theirs, and they're like, what? Dictionary? What? You're allowed to have a dictionary at the exams? And I was like, only 2 of the exams, right? It's reading and writing. You can have a dictionary. And she didn't know that. In any case, that's what I wanted to preamble. That's what I wanted to say before I go to the test. I am leaving. I will go by train to Amsterdam in the next hour or 2, and I will come back to this video for a brief summary of my experiences once the test is over. Okay? Wish me luck. Okay, so it's a different day now. I took the test a few days back and didn't feel like recording, didn't have the energy to record again until now. But while everything is still fresh in my mind, I did want to quickly go over like how the test was. I can't mention any of the material, obviously, for obvious reasons. They actually warned us about that as well. And if you watched my other video about the listening test, you know that when you go in, you have to sit at a computer. It takes a while before you can actually start the test. There were 50 people in the room this time, and I took it in Amsterdam instead of in Utrecht, which the listening test I took in Utrecht. They didn't have any space left at that one, so I just went to Amsterdam instead. And so me and 50 other people in our own little separated cubicles, and 2 or 3 or 4 moderators. I mean, in the beginning there was one guy that was taking our IDs, and there were 2 or 3 ladies who were checking our dictionaries. With the reading and the writing exams, you're allowed to take in a dictionary, and they're actually very specific about which one you can take in. It has to be a specific brand. There's 3 different versions of it, like maybe from like a few different years that you can take. One has bikes on the front, the other one has like a Dutch flag, and the other one just kind of has like a pattern, a colorful pattern on the front. But I have to say, having the dictionary with me was a freaking game changer. Before, when I was maybe unsure about exactly what the question was asking or exactly what one answer meant, you can kind of guess based on like, oh, this has this and this word in it, and I can see those words in the text, so I'm gonna go with that. And I understand like 90% of everything. It's like, why did Max say that he wanted to go to this school or something? And that's all fine and dandy. It's an easy question to answer, but another question might be like, what did Max find the most important about this? And like during that paragraph of Max talking about all the things that he liked, he didn't necessarily say the most important thing to me is this. So you kind of have to like think about how many times he mentioned this specific thing, and based on the rest of the words in this sentence, like which thing he really found most important. Like you have to use critical thinking, you know, which is hard when you're already like reading this huge text in another language, and maybe 1 or 2 or 3 words you don't exactly know. Like you can assume what the meaning for them is, but you're not sure. And so like it just takes a lot of mental capacity to hold what you're assuming that word means in your mind while you read the rest of it, and try to figure that out. And you're trying to figure out what words mean as well as trying to answer the question. With the dictionary, that was almost completely eliminated. There was still one word that I looked up in the dictionary and the definition did not help. It had a word in it that I had to also look up, so it led me to a different entry for this other word, and that word just referred back to this word, so that did not help. But eventually, like, that was the only problem I had. Every other time I went to the dictionary to look for something that was in the question or in the text, it was cleared up for me. So that mental space of me like trying to hold like what I think that definition is and keep on reading was completely like cleared, and I was actually able to bim bam boom through the test. Let's say there's 3 or 4 different like texts, and for every text, which is a page or 2 long, there's 5 or 6 questions for it. And I talked about this in my other video, that with every single one, the question you always get is, what is the purpose of this text? So that's one of them. And for the rest, they just ask you about stuff that's in the text itself. So where was I going with this? Oh, before I even read the text, you get this little book. Before I even read the text, I would see, it tells you questions 1 to 6 is about this title text. So I would just like read the questions and click through, and if any of them seemed like I could really easily grab that information from the text, especially because they would be like, what did so and so say you're supposed to do on Tuesday? And there's a paragraph in the text that has that person's name. You know, let's say that there's like 4 different people they interviewed for this text. I don't know. Each one spoke, and it would have like their name at the paragraph. So I can easily go to that person's name and scan for the word Dinsdag, Tuesday, and easily find that. So like as I was going through the questions, if there was one that seemed really easy to answer, I would just go and directly answer that. And then I would go through the questions forward and backward from those 5 to 6 questions, and then go through the text at the same time and answer them, not in any particular order, but, you know, as a group. And that was, I think, a really, really good strategy, at least for me. And I literally went through, I had time to take a pee break. I actually got the chance to go out to my locker and get a candy bar that I had brought with, but I forgot to bring it in the room. You can bring food and drink with you in the room. So I would really recommend, at first I was thinking like, I wish I'd brought some chips, because you're there for like 2 hours, you know, and if it takes you longer to do the test, it's nice to have something to munch on. I started getting hungry and I raised my hand, and I only had 5 questions left. I was on the last text. And I was so happy about that, because I was confident about everything so far, but I was getting a little bit hungry. So I was like, okay, well, I would really like to have something to eat. So I raised my hand and I asked the moderator, like, can I go to my locker and get something to eat? And she was like, no. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm really hungry, but I only have 5 questions left, so it's okay. And then she said yes. So she's like, I'll just go with you. So she goes with me to my locker to make sure that I don't like cheat or, you know, look at the answers or something. And I grabbed a Snickers out of my purse in my locker, shut the locker again, come back in, and then I got to answer my last 5 questions with my candy bar, you know, which really helped. Because you don't want to be feeling uncomfortable during the test. You don't want to be hungry or having to go to the bathroom. Like, a part of your brain is going to be thinking about how you have to do one of those things. So I was really glad she let me in the end go get my Snickers. But I would give advice to anybody who's going to take the test, like, bring some chocolate peanuts with you, or bring like some M&Ms or something that you can kind of snack on throughout the test, just to give yourself a little treat, like every time you answer a question or something, you know. I think it's just a nice thing to have by you when you're gonna be there for 2 hours. You can also get coffee. I don't know if it's like this at every location, but at the Amsterdam location, if you bring your own little coffee cup, there's an automatic machine just outside the testing center that I think it's free. You can just fill up your coffee cup. They have like also hot chocolate there and tea and some other stuff. But I just brought a water bottle in with me, and I didn't even bring any food. It just happened by chance that I had a Snickers in my purse from a different day. So that's that. And I won't get the results until the end of the month. It takes 3 to 4 weeks. They tell you before you start the test. The results will be available on this day. They showed it on a big screen after 3 p.m. So very specific about what time you can check your results. But if you don't manage to check them online, you'll get a letter in the mail a month later saying how you did. I'm pretty sure I passed. Well, if I passed the practice exams and I feel insanely more confident about this, I should be in the clear. But those are my tips, and that's my experience of the reading test. I'm very, very glad that I did practice tests, because I went in there at least knowing that the material, something I knew what to expect. Whether or not you're comfortable with it, at least you know what to expect. And the practice exams are available online. So, you know, do yourself a favor and give that a go before you have the exam. And until next time, my next exam is the Spreke, the speaking test. So stay tuned for my next video of that one. If you have any questions about the integration or immigration process or language learning, please drop them in the comments below. I will try to address them in the next video.